don't choose attraction. Attraction chooses them. Their biology runs the software before their mind catches up. Of course, we need to pay homage to a particular way that attraction can be built. And most people look at attraction solely through one lens. And these can be characterized as social narratives of attraction, which can be greatly influenced by media and also culture. So I'll give you two examples. The celebrity effect, which is otherwise known as pre-selection or social conformity. You see somebody with a lot of social media followers, and therefore you attribute the people knowing that individual is a consequence of being high value. There was also a very interesting experiment, or social experiment you could say, where an individual used an app which inflated the streamers which were watching his particular live stream. And he was at a party, and he would go around and show all these women that he had all these live viewers. And immediately, and this was just an average looking guy, they were fawning all over him, they were following him around. Essentially, the live viewers were teaching and educating these women at the time that this individual was a high value individual and therefore worthy of her attention and her attraction. Female wing women. This is a very interesting phenomenon. I remember during university, because I was actually roommates with 3 women at the time, I probably was more sexually successful than maybe the average person. Because when you go out with other women see you in women's company, and therefore there is a perceived attraction. There's a certain proof, you could say, that this individual is worthy of your attention. Equally, men with marriage rings, wedding bands, they typically do or get more attraction, more attention, I should say, in contexts where sexual or promiscuity is highly likely, like bars, clubs, and pubs. Such as it is, that I know some individuals who will go out wearing fake wedding bands, wedding rings, to show again that idea of pre-selection, social conformity. Another, perhaps little less powerful one, are trappings of wealth, designer clothing. Why is there even a fake clothing, phenomenon? Is because people understand the value of being perceived or marketing as somebody who has a lot of wealth. So these, again, are one sole way that people look at attraction. Current culture teaches you what you find attractive. And this effect is even very prevalent in men, such as fake fertility features. Women nowadays, it's very hard to find a woman who is completely natural. There's always some kind of augmentation that goes on to making the breasts more enlarged or the buttocks more enlarged. And all those is interesting what we find kind of sexy. What you find sexy is your body telling you that your chances of healthy offspring are high with this particular individual, such as the point of enlarged breasts, hip to waist ratio, etc., etc. And the same happens to women too. Now, there's 3 scientific ways that I'll discuss, and one theosophical way, which is kind of like 19th century science and spirituality. So the first is cryptic female choice, which is found in many, many species, by the way. So the female body unconsciously selects sperm it deems higher quality. This bypasses conscious choice, literally her biology dictating her choice. And here's a reference at the bottom if you wanna further look at these points. But here's essentially the breakdown. The female immune system can attack sperm it perceives as low quality or genetically incompatible while tolerating others. Essentially, it's showing that women's bodies are more likely to tolerate sperm with different immune systems and genes than their own. Interestingly, around ovulation, cervical mucus becomes more watery, which helps sperm pass. But it isn't equal opportunities. It favors sperm with better motility and healthier morphology. So just with these two, well, actually the third one as well, sperm doesn't just float to the egg. The fallopian tube epithelium stores sperm, releasing only some towards the egg. Certain sperm bind better to the epithelium, essentially getting a VIP treatment. So what am I really trying to say with these particular points is that attraction is dependent on virility. It's dependent on your fertility. And her body, her very DNA, her cells are sensitive towards this fact to the point that they will attack sperm it perceives as low quality. It will store sperm it perceives to be of high quality. And as some of you guessed, this is also dependent on the maturity of your sexual fluids. Spermatogenesis takes 76 days to get to this kind of quality. The second point is the phenotypical markers of androgen activity have more influence during fertility. Now, there's many different examples I could have gone through here, but I just wanted to take the deeper voice and provide a little bit more nuance. So women reliably rate deeper voices as more attractive, but with some nuance. So during the fertile phase, they strongly prefer lower pitched voices. Outside the fertility phase, preference is weaker or sometimes absent at all. So it supports something called the ovulatory shift hypothesis. Women subconsciously tune into androgen-driven cues when contraception is possible. Anecdotally, there's an interesting tribe called or people called the Hazda people in Tanzania, and women prefer deeper male voices in this tribe. Among the Hazda, men with deeper voices actually even had more children, a direct evolutionary payoff. There again, we can see a second point drawing this link between attraction being influenced by fertility, virility, not just social cues, not just media, not just culture. I did make a little caveat here. This is all granted women aren't taking any contraception that alters endocrine profile. Now, this is just a theory here, but the pill feigns pregnancy. If a woman is taking the pill, then she doesn't have this. She doesn't have a fertile phase because she's not fertile. She's been fertilized, but she's not fertile. She's outside the fertile phase, so her preference is going to be weaker. That's why you hear all these anecdotes from men and women when a woman is taking contraception and has been with a partner for a long period of time, and then she stops. There can suddenly be a repulsion to that partner because she was once not seemingly fertile and is now suddenly fertile, and recognizing that their partner is not demonstrating or demonstrative of these phenotypical markers of androgen activity, of masculine gene expression. The third point, the glow of retained vitality. So a bioenergetic paper suggests semen-rich plasma has unusually high concentrations of zinc, selenium, and neuroactive peptides. Nutrient density is projected in the skin, the eyes, and the voice. I won't go into too much detail here, but you can kind of see high concentrations of certain specifics in here. Zinc and selenium being attributed to immune function, skin clarity, testosterone, and regular depletion affecting skin, eyes, hair. Testosterone also promotes something called angiogenesis, which is blood vessel formation, and increases cutaneous blood flow. This literally gives skin a healthier, slightly redder, more vibrant appearance. And this is because of the nitric oxide effect, which creates that vasodilation. And I believe this is a lot of the scientific rationale behind this glow. You know, they say, you're glowing, brother. You're very vibrant. You look full of life. So testosterone coming into the equation there. Cross-culturally, if you're going to take an anthropological look at this, vital men, hunters, warriors, and athletes are described as constantly having a radiant and magnetic appearance. And some bioenergetic theories suggest that this is visible projection of mitochondrial efficiency, ATP output, energy, vitality perceived externally. And then I'll leave you with some Steiner, which is I just included the definition for you here. So theosophy is a 19th century spiritual science, a blend of Eastern and Western. So that bridge between the rationale and maybe the more mystic. So Steiner, and this is Rudolf Steiner here, thought that thought forms and vitality auras are subconsciously felt in your energy, especially if your vital force isn't dissipated through excess sex. I always look at this from the holistic perspective here. What does science do? Science is very reductionist. It looks at specific, it looks at the details, it looks like at the nuance. But holistically, when you put all these things together, you can potentially explain it from a broader perspective. And that's what theosophy is trying to do, and Steiner is trying to do in this case. Is fundamentally, we're just talking about the very force of reproduction is impaired if it is abused. And the likelihood in which you can have the opportunity to reproduce is in equal parts to your ability to reproduce. So again, you're never going to be given the opportunity to reproduce and attract a mate if you don't have the capacity to get the job done if you can attract her or when you can attract her, which makes, logical sense. What's the point in going to the gun range if you don't have any ammunition? People aren't going to invite you to the gun range if you don't have ammunition. But people will invite you to the gun range. I'm not sure if you're getting this analogy, but I hope it's coming through. People will ask you to come to the gun range or beg you to come to the gun range if you have a lot of ammunition. Anyway, that's not a theory. That's a fact. Speak soon.